When I launched my new DIY Content Hub workshop last year, I actually found 55 pieces of content that I could use for that brand new offer before I even had to create anything from scratch. I mean, 55, I was really shocked when I searched for it. And the relief knowing that I had so much to use was massive. I'm Jenny Stevens, and this is video 5 of 7 of the AI Content Operating System series that I described. So you can get the next couple of videos, or if you're watching this later, you'll also find the rest of the series in the playlist in my channel. But today we're talking about launches, and I'm going to show you my campaign tracker that helps me actually connect all of my content to the actual goal of that launch, or if it's a relaunch campaign, whatever you want to call it, and actually make launching not feel quite so overwhelming, and how launching something actually feels so much easier and stops you having to create so much from scratch every single time. Now, I don't know about you, but if you're anything like me, launching can just feel so much. There's so much to do with it. And I love creating new offers, but there's a lot that goes with it. And the content sides in particular just felt like this massive mountain that I could never get to the top of. And I always felt like it was this mad rush with everything else that you have to do, with coming up with the offer, with the copywriting, the webinar, the tech, the funnel, the emails, everything. And then the content for the emails, and in particular for me anyway, for social media, it just felt like this massive, huge pile of stuff that I had to create that I always felt like I was running out of time to do. So everything just felt really rushed, and I was creating stuff from scratch all the time until I made the shift and actually combined, I had everything in Google Docs. I brought my campaigns and my launches together with my systems for content, and it made things so much better. So having it all in one place was huge. So what my process looks like now is I will kind of plan out my launch in terms of what's my revenue goal, how many leads do I need? I work out the numbers to help me hit the revenue goal that I need. How many signups do I need? If I'm doing something like a webinar to go with it, how many signups do I need? And I have it all in my system in Airtable. And then I'll go and actually look back through my old content. So if it's been for an offer that I've already done, I can easily search through that offer. Or if it's a brand new one, there's still going to be content that I can reuse and just repurpose, whether it's changing out the call to action, tweaking things, but I've got so much there to start off with. I can filter and sort by the best performing posts to see what worked well before, what can I reuse. Sometimes it might be, I'm just going to change up the hook for something and try something different. And anything that can work with that new campaign, I can then actually connect it to the campaign, which I'll show you in a moment. But before you know it, you've got half of what you need already. So everything that's new could just be new ideas, new things you want to test, or anything that's slightly different to update things, and you've got so much to work with already. And that just makes that pile of stuff that you need to create just so much smaller, which will make just launching in general feel so much easier, even though it's not easy to launch. But you know what I mean? It just takes so much of that stress and pressure off your shoulders when you've got so much to work with already. So let me show you how it works inside of my system and what things might look like for you. Okay, so we're back into the Content Command Center, my demo view. So how this works is it's split up into a couple of different sections. So first off, we've got our own dedicated launch and campaign tracker, where you can actually put in your different campaigns. So a couple of examples, it might be here's product 1. This is actually a live launch. You can choose the offer, you can say the status, you can put in your dates, your revenue goals, your lead goals, all of that kind of stuff, and then put in metrics afterwards, which we'll come to later. This one is one that was more of a sales promo, think like Black Friday kind of thing. So you can kind of choose what your campaign types are like. You can link it to your offers and do all of that stuff. So you'll start off by kind of planning out your campaigns. Then when it comes to looking at your past content, you can obviously go and find it. Now, obviously, I recommend, and part of what I help people do is get as much of their past content into your own content hub as much as possible. There's a few like really easy ways that you can do that. But what you can then do, once you've got your content in there, you can then find it really easily, okay? So we've got a couple of views. So you can obviously search by either filtering, so you can filter by an offer, or once you've done this a few times, you'll be able to look at past campaigns and see all of the content that is there. So let's say you wanted to filter by one particular offer. You could do a filter, for example, and go and find it. And then you could then easily connect it to that campaign. So you can see here is where we could then link. So I could say, right, this one, I'm going to link to this one. Now it's connected, right? And when you connect data together, you can then do more things with it. So that's how I always start out, right? I can go back and I can filter by the offer and I can say, right, I want to use these best performing things, right? So if I just come to mine for a moment and I'll come into my data, for example. Now I've got views for launch stuff, which I'll come into a sec. But like if I was coming in, I wanted to just first off see what content I've got. I can actually either come into my metrics view, or I could simply just do it from here. And I could say, I want to sort this by, so let's say it was emails. I could say, I want click to open rate. I could say, right, what were the highest performing clicked emails, right? Or I haven't got my metrics views showing there. So I could look at my email metrics and do it that way. But either way, these are sorted now by the top performing ones. So I could say, right, obviously these ones were just to the actual registrants. So these were the emails. So I could then, again, easily just connect it to the campaign. So here's my campaign one. So here you can see these are ones for different campaigns that I've done. Or if you want to search for a particular one instead, if you like, I know I talked about a specific client, you could search for their name or whatever, and you can then look it up and then you can easily just add it to your campaign. So that's kind of how I do like my first initial brain dump of, well, not necessarily brain dump, but just first sort of sweep, if you like, on past content. And then you can start to fill the gaps. You can start to say, okay, we now need to look at things in a different way and plan things out. So then you can have, so I've got these kind of different launch specific views. So if you wanted to look at your content by the either the platform or the type, you could have this kind of view where you just see what you've got. So then what I can do is I can either then create duplicates of things, because obviously I've got metrics tracked in the originals. So if you want to then say, okay, I want to duplicate this, I can duplicate the record and strip out obviously the metrics and whatnot. And then you can start getting into planning your dates, right? Now, again, everyone does these things in different ways. This is why it's really important to make this as custom to you as possible, because it fits how you do things. So for me, for example, I've got some different views where if I want to look at all of my content in like the launch framework, so a bit like, what's his name? Jeff Walker, his product launch formula where he's got pre-launch, cart open, etc. You can view it like that. So this is a nice way to see what you've got. Or if you want to move stuff around, say, do you know what, that post, I'm going to make that as a pre-launch thing as well. Or, okay, I've hardly got any things for pre-launch. I need to create some new content. So depending on how your brain works, you can see the content with how you like. And you can then filter by what's the offer, right? So I've got all of my offers here. So I could say, okay, I want to see all of my content for, I'm going to turn that one off. So this is all the ones for my content hub. This is like my DIY kind of building out your own content hub that I did last year. So I was able to look at past ones, and this is where I was able to find 55 pieces of content all around the content theme that I could then just either tweak the call to action, adjust stuff slightly or just reuse as it was with a few little minor tweaks. And I was able to just have so much starting off. So however you like to plan and see your content, if you want to see it in this view, I think I created one. Yeah, so then I actually added an extra field to go by the week so I could know, right, what's going when, in what week. So that helped me just know when I was planning, right, these are the posts for week 1. And that helped me in that kind of creation mode and making sure, right, focus on these ones first and get them done and scheduled kind of thing. So however you like to work, you've got the flexibility there. So you can see it like that. Then I have like a specific calendar view just for the launches. So again, all of these are simple filters, groupings, things like that. So this is then just for the launch. So I could just focus all of my time in this area that way. The other thing then, obviously, this is all the kind of the back end stuff. So you can obviously have these nice views in this sort of data side, but you can also then use your interfaces. So I've recently actually created these launch dashboards and stuff specifically. I was mostly using just my views that way. But so in here, we've now also got a launch view. So you could see your launches in this kind of gallery view, and you can see the dates, the goal, whatever, however you like to see it. So you can have this nice kind of gallery view. You can then look at your assets, so you can actually link together, put all of your easy links. So for you, and if you've got any team members, you can easily find what you need. So like the images, the links that you need, you could have even just like what's your core like offer, bullet points that you use all the time. You could even just have text that you could easily use and grab and find if you want to. And then when it comes to the performance, you can then have a sort of dashboard view where you can then actually see how many, you can link it, but you can then sort it and filter it by the most active campaign, or you can look at all campaigns, and you can see, obviously this is just demo data, but you can see number of sales, the revenue, what was the difference to your goal, how many leads were generated, what's your sales conversion. But then because you've linked it to your each individual piece of content to that launch, if you love I love geeking out on data, but you can then see how many emails did you send, how many social posts did you send. You can see nice little charts if you want to, pie charts, bar charts, whatever you like. And you can see it like that. So this is something that I actually just recently added. So I've added it for my own as well. Here's all my launch content. So I've now created for myself some views where I can see what's the sales from social media, what's the ones from email, what's my average interactions, what's the average click to open rate. And then I can see what's the type of post that I've published. Then I've got the best performing emails sorted by sales, and then the click-through to open rate, just can't quite see that. Then I've got the social content. So it just gives me so much visibility, and it all stems from that data. And then I've got another little view again, where at that same kind of Trello view, I've got it right in here. So I can then, again, filter by the campaign and say, right, okay, this is the one that I'm doing. Here's the last, this was a workshop that I did. And now I can see all of that content there as well. So it's all just flexible, which is great. And so then when it comes to next time, like if next time I want to promote my DIY workshop, or if I've got another brand new workshop that I want to do and I've got a relevant content that I've bound to have talked about, I can go and find it, connect it, and then it's just a case of filling in the gaps and testing anything new. So then I've got a view on metrics. So again, when I'm adding in all of that metrics, I've got all of the emails here. I can then change that to be, okay, now let's look at my Instagram stuff, and you can then see, okay, here's that. So this is where you can then filter, or not filter, but, sort by your top performing things. I've got ones for ads and doing any ads. All of this can fit how you work. So if you like that kind of spreadsheet view, you can work in this kind of behind the scenes part. Or if you like to work more from a more simplified version, which is a lot of people do, then the interfaces are great for you to be able to see what you need. You can then look at have your views like this, work on your launch content, click into it, write it, that we've talked about previously, and just have each part of what you need to do in the right kind of format. So we talked about different views for different tasks. That all works great for launches as well. If you're in planning mode, if you're in creation mode, if you're in like analysis mode, like evaluating how it went, it could all be done from here. And like an extra thing that you can do is even I've got a separate kind of sales track and more deeper marketing metrics kind of as a whole. You can then even connect your sales and automate your sales to be put into here, or I have them separate in a different base. But you can connect your checkout or whatever to automatically put your sales in, and then also link that to your campaign too. So this just kind of starts out with where you can just go in at the end of your campaign. You can manually add in what your revenue actuals were, how many sales you got, or you can go further and have that automated too. And say, I love funnels and stuff, so I'll put in how many sales page views I've got, what's the conversion of the sales page. You can have as much or as little. If you don't care about a load of this stuff, you don't have to have that. Here I can see here's where that dashboard, it brings in how many emails were sent, all because everything lives inside of here. So those are all the kind of individual pieces that are connected. So as you can see, all your content is connected with your launch, with your campaign. Every time you go to relaunch something, you're not starting from scratch. You're building from a baseline, you're building from proof and evidence, and you're not just starting from scratch every time. So this is how relaunching just stops feeling like a massive chore that you might put off and feels like you're starting over every time. And you can just build on it as you go. If you're relaunching that same program, you'll start to build up so much insight into what works and what doesn't, and just make your life so much easier. Or if you have anyone in part of your team, you can all just work together so much more smoothly. So if you're interested in having this built for you, that's custom to you, your needs, your business, your workflow, then check the details below for how I can build this for you. You can apply, see if it's a fit for you. And if you prefer to DIY, then be sure to subscribe and make sure that we connect, get on my email list so that you actually get notified when templates that will fit this will be available. There's more templates coming soon for the DIYers out there. So tomorrow's video 6, is where we're going to dive more into tracking the performance, how you can see your best performers to reuse and get the data out of it, and making sure that you're set up to actually know what's important to track, what's not, and how you can view things in the best way forwards. So make sure you subscribe so you get notified when that video drops, or go and check the playlist finding this after the series has finished, and you will find the past episodes and obviously the next ones too. So I look forward to seeing you then.